Have you ever felt the power of rhythm that seems to move not only the body but also the soul? A rhythm that speaks to heaven and echoes across generations. Before we step into the sacred world of Acehnese, most spiritual and breathtaking cultural treasure, the Saman Dance, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because your support keeps the stories of Indonesia's heritage alive for the world to see and remembering this journey. We travel beyond sound and movement, beyond art and culture, into the divine connection between faith and expression that was born in the heart of Aceh. Centuries ago, the Saman Dance is not just an art form. It is a heartbeat of the people, a symbol of unity, discipline, and devotion that has carried the teachings of Islam through the grace of human motion. Let us open the doors of history and spirit, and witness how a simple dance performed in the quiet villages of Gayo Lues became one of the world's most mesmerizing expressions of faith and culture deep in the mist-covered hills of Gayo Lues, surrounded by endless green forests and the whisper of cool mountain winds. A sacred art form was born that would one day carry the name of its people across the world. The Saman Dance began not as a performance for applause, but as a form of prayer, a rhythmic act of remembrance known in Islam as zikr, a gathering where voices and movements became instruments of praise to the Creator. It was in this quiet yet powerful spiritual tradition that Sheikh Saman, a respected Islamic preacher and teacher, saw an opportunity to blend faith and art, devotion and beauty. He taught his followers that worship did not always need to be silent or still, that remembering God could also be done through motion, through the harmony of bodies that move as one in gratitude and surrender over time. His teachings spread across the highlands, and what began as a small act of devotion grew into a cultural legacy, one that would define the soul of the Gayo people and eventually the entire Acehnese identity. Thus, the Saman Dance was born, not from vanity, but from humility and love. A dance that became a prayer, and a prayer that became a heritage. The beauty of Saman lies not only in its rhythm, but in its unity. For the dancers sit side by side in perfect rows, their shoulders touching, their movements intertwined like threads in a single fabric of devotion. There is no star, no spotlight, no single hero among them. For every dancer is equal, every motion relies on another, and together they form one living organism. Breathing and moving in divine harmony, this symbolizes the Islamic concept of ummah, the community of believers, where unity is strength and where the act of worship is shared among all with humility and discipline there. Synchronized movements are not rehearsed arrogance, but spiritual discipline, reflecting the balance of faith that teaches order, respect, and brotherhood. When the dancers clap, strike their chests, and sway with lightning precision, it feels like the pulse of one heart beating across generations, as if the rhythm itself is the sound of humanity moving closer to God. It is through this togetherness that the Saman Dance transcends entertainment, becoming a living embodiment of faith, a visual sermon of unity and submission. No instrument accompanies the Saman Dance, for the dancers themselves become instruments of divine music. Their hands strike, their voices rise, and their bodies flow in synchronized waves, producing a symphony of movement that fills the air with spirit and emotion. Far deeper than any melody could carry, each chant is an echo of remembrance, each breath a prayer, each clap a testimony of gratitude. As the performers recite verses of praise and moral lessons drawn from the teachings of Islam, the sound of their harmony resonates like 1,000 hearts whispering Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar in perfect timing, creating an energy that seems to lift the soul from the earth toward the heavens when seen live. The dance feels like watching faith in motion, a rhythm of devotion that transcends the physical world and pulls the audience into a moment of pure spiritual reflection. This is the sacred rhythm of Aceh, a rhythm that carries centuries of love, struggle, and belief. Every motion in Saman carries meaning, for nothing is done without intention. The dancers rise and fall, bow and sway, clap and strike in patterns that tell stories of humility, gratitude, and the eternal struggle to remain close to God amidst life's storms. The folding of the body signifies submission. The joining of hands symbolizes unity. The tempo changes represent the pulse of life, sometimes calm, sometimes chaotic, but always guided by faith. The leader, known as Sheikh, does not dominate, but guides like an imam leading prayer, keeping harmony among the dancers, just as faith keeps harmony among the believers through this dance. Aceh teaches the world that art and faith are not enemies, but reflections of the same divine truth. The body becomes a vessel of worship, and the movement itself becomes a form of remembrance that bridges the earthly and the eternal in Aceh. The Saman Dance is a mirror of life, a living expression of identity that connects generations. It is performed not for fame, but for celebration during weddings, religious festivals, harvest ceremonies, and special communal gatherings that unite entire villages under one song of joy and devotion. Children grow up watching their elders perform songs, learning not just the rhythm but the values behind it: discipline, respect, teamwork, and gratitude for the people of ES. The dance is more than art. It is moral education, a moving classroom where faith and culture walk hand in hand. Even today, in a world filled with noise and distraction, the Saman dance remains a sacred act of grounding, reminding the Acehnese that no matter how far the world moves forward, their faith and unity remain timeless too. Dance Saman is to carry the past within the present, to live the lessons of their ancestors through rhythm and devotion. Traditionally, the Saman dance was performed by men, reflecting the communal practices of the time. Yet, as Aceh society evolved, women began to embrace the dance, bringing a new softness and spiritual elegance without losing its power or its sacred meaning. Female Saman groups have since flourished across Indonesia and even abroad, becoming ambassadors of Acehnese identity and symbols of how faith and tradition can adapt without losing purity. Their performances remind the world that the essence of Saman lies not in gender but in devotion, and that the rhythm of faith flows through every soul that seeks harmony through their grace and strength. These women carry the message of Sheikh Saman forward into the modern age, proving that faith expressed through art knows no boundaries. They remind us that heritage is not meant to be preserved in silence, but to be lived, shared, and carried forward through time. From humble villages surrounded by mountains to the glittering stages of the world, the Saman dance has traveled far without losing its soul. It has captivated audiences in international festivals, academic conferences, and cultural exhibitions, mesmerizing those who witness its hypnotic precision and spiritual depth. In 2011, UNESCO recognized the Saman dance as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, honoring not just its artistic excellence but its deep moral and religious foundation. Yet, even before the world noticed, the people of USA had long cherished Saman as a divine gift, a reminder that true beauty lies in discipline, humility, and harmony wherever it is performed, whether in a small village or a global stage. Saman carries the same message. Faith and art can unite, culture can elevate the spirit, and unity is the rhythm that sustains us. All the Saman dance is more than rhythm. It is philosophy. It teaches endurance, patience, and collective strength, values deeply rooted in Islamic ethics. Every dancer must surrender the ego, for the performance demands absolute synchronization, and one's mistake can disturb the entire harmony. This discipline mirrors the essence of faith itself, where believers are reminded that life is a shared rhythm guided by divine order. When performed perfectly, Saman becomes a metaphor for human existence. Many voices, many movements, one purpose, one creator. Through this philosophy, ESA teaches the world that the highest form of beauty lies not in individual brilliance but in unity, not in separation but in togetherness, and that art can be both prayer and life at once. In USA, Islam and culture are inseparable, bound together like the waves and the Sita. Saman dance is one of the clearest reflections of this harmony. Faith expressed through motion, history preserved through worship. It is proof that Islam in Indonesia did not erase culture but transformed it, elevating it into something purer and more meaningful. Through Saman, we see that the teachings of peace, discipline, and unity can live within art, within song, and within community life. This fusion of devotion and creativity has made Aceh's culture timeless, standing strong through centuries of change, natural disaster, and human challenge. Saman remains as a living testimony that faith, when embraced with love, creates not division but beauty that lasts forever as generations pass. The Saman dance continues to echo across the valleys of Aceh, across schools, mosques, and stages, carrying the same sacred energy it held when Sheikh Saman first taught it centuries ago. Is more than legacy, it is living breath, the rhythm of a people who refuse to forget their roots and their faith. Each new dancer becomes part of a chain that stretches back through time, connected by devotion and pride, carrying not just steps and movements but memories, values, and prayers. And in every synchronized motion, every chant of unity, the soul of Aceh whispers that faith and art are one, that culture and worship can coexist as gifts from the same divine source. The Saman dance is not just the pride of Aceh, but the heartbeat of Indonesia, a symbol of what humanity can create when belief and beauty walk together. So when you watch the Saman dance, do not just see movement, listen to it, feel it. Let it remind you of how faith can live within art, and how unity can find expression in rhythm. This is the story of USA, a land of devotion, courage, and beauty, where every beat of the drumless dance carries the sound of remembrance. This journey touched your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because your voice helps us keep this cultural flame alive. We can preserve the soul of Indonesia, the art, the faith, the rhythm that makes this land not just beautiful, but sacred. This is the sacred rhythm of Acehnese, is Saman, the dance that prays.